Welcome back to our channel. Have you ever walked away from a relationship? No turning back, no waiting, no hope of being held onto? That moment may seem like simple absence, but in reality, it triggers a storm of psychological reactions in the mind of the one left behind. They go through denial, substitution, emotional outbursts, and finally a desperate search for meaning. All unfolding like a psychological journey through the lens of Sigmund Freud. In this video, we'll uncover the 6 psychological stages people experience when you decide to leave, and realize that sometimes, true power lies in walking away, not in holding on. The most decisive moment in a relationship is not when love blossoms, nor when conflicts erupt. It is when one person truly decides to walk away, without turning back. That single choice reshapes everything. Presence often comforts, but absence transforms. When you leave, you create a space that forces the other person to confront themselves. They can no longer distract from the truth. They must face it. At first, denial kicks in. The person left behind convinces themselves it's temporary. They believe you will return, that nothing has truly changed. But slowly, reality settles in, and the silence becomes undeniable. To fill the void, they may seek distractions. New people, endless routines, or material comforts. Yet every substitute feels empty, because it cannot replace the emotional weight of what was lost. As substitutes fail, emotions explode. Anger, sadness, regret, and longing collide inside them. This storm can be destructive, but it also strips away illusions, leaving only raw truth. Walking away acts like a mirror. It forces the other person to see themselves clearly, without excuses, without masks. For some, it becomes the start of growth. For others, it exposes their deepest fears. In the end, the greatest power does not lie in holding on, it lies in the courage to step away. By leaving, you trigger transformation, whether the other person embraces it or resists it. The defining moment is not love's beginning, nor its conflict. It is the decision to walk away. Because sometimes, absence speaks louder than presence, and leaving shapes the story more than staying ever could. Absence as a mirror. When you walk away, you do more than create distance. Your absence becomes a mirror, forcing the other person to see themselves without distraction. It exposes what they fear, what they avoid, and what they truly desire. The weight of emptiness. The empty space you leave behind is not neutral. It is heavy. Silence fills the air, routines feel broken, and the familiar comfort disappears. The one who remains cannot escape the void, and that void demands to be faced. The clash of illusions. First, the mind fights reality. They cling to illusions. This is temporary. They'll come back. Nothing has changed. But the longer you stay away, the more fragile these illusions become, until they collapse. The spiral of substitution. In an attempt to escape pain, they chase substitutes, new faces, distractions, or possessions. Yet every attempt feels hollow. The substitutes only deepen the contrast between what was lost and what remains. The emotional breakdown. When substitutes fail, emotions rise uncontrollably. Anger lashes out, sadness takes over, regret lingers, and longing consumes. This emotional breakdown is painful, but it clears the illusions and reveals raw truth. The fork in the road. Your departure creates a turning point. One path leads to transformation, self-reflection, growth, and a stronger self. The other path leads to resistance, denial, obsession, and stagnation. The choice is theirs to make. The power of leaving. In truth, your absence carries more influence than your presence. By leaving, you become the silent catalyst for their transformation, or their downfall. The mirror you leave behind never lies. Final reflection. Leaving is not only an act of separation, it is an act of revelation. It shows the one who remains who they truly are, without masks or illusions. Sometimes it opens the door to growth. Sometimes it traps them in their own walls. But either way, your absence speaks louder than words ever could. Jung's perspective. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, studied how the human mind responds to loss and separation. His framework does not list exact stages, but it provides powerful tools to understand hidden reactions. The concept of projection. Projection is when we push unwanted feelings onto others. Instead of admitting fear or anger inside, we blame someone else. This defense makes us feel lighter, but it hides the truth. Projection in relationships. When abandoned, a person may project guilt or weakness onto the one who left. They are cruel. They are selfish. In reality, these are reflections of their own inner struggle. The process of individuation. Individuation is Jung's idea of becoming whole. It is the journey of uniting different parts of the self, logic and emotion, light and dark, strength and vulnerability. Individuation after loss. Separation can trigger individuation. Pain pushes people to confront their hidden parts. Some discover courage, others find wisdom. Growth begins when they accept what they once denied. The shadow. The shadow is the side we avoid. It carries jealousy, fear, anger, and shame. When we ignore it, it grows stronger. When we face it, we reclaim power. The shadow in abandonment. Being left behind brings the shadow forward. Feelings of rejection, envy, or rage appear. This is painful, but it is also the chance to finally face what was buried. Transformation through Jung's lens. Projection explains the blame. Individuation explains the growth. The shadow explains the struggle. Together, they show why leaving someone is not just an event, it is a psychological turning point. Final reflection. Jung's framework reminds us, loss is not only pain. It is a mirror that reveals hidden parts of the self. Facing projection, individuation, and the shadow can turn suffering into transformation. The 6 psychological stages when someone leaves you. 1. The disbelief phase. When someone walks away, the first reaction is shock. The mind refuses to accept reality. A wall of denial forms. This cannot be happening. Some pretend to feel fine. They act indifferent, but deep inside, their world trembles. Denial is not weakness. It is the mind's shield against unbearable truth. 2. The replacement endeavor. After denial weakens, emptiness takes over. To fill the void, the person searches for substitutes. They may rush into new relationships, drown themselves in work, or chase entertainment. But substitutes never heal the wound. They only cover it temporarily. The deeper truth still waits underneath. 3. The emotional eruption. When replacements fail, emotions break free. Anger bursts out. Sadness pours like rain. Regret and longing collide. This is the storm of truth. Messy, overwhelming, unavoidable. Although painful, this eruption is necessary. It tears away illusions and forces the person to face reality for the first time. 4. The meaning-making attempt. After the storm, the mind demands explanation. Why did this happen? What went wrong? Some build protective stories. They were cruel. Others blame themselves. It's all my fault. A few take the hardest path. True introspection. They reflect, learn, and begin to see hidden patterns within themselves. 5. The return strategy. Once meaning is sought, the person faces a choice. Try to reconnect or cut ties forever. Some attempt reconciliation, messages, apologies, desperate calls. Others choose closure, deleting numbers, burning bridges, or walking away firmly. This stage reveals the deeper truth, not the story told to others, but the true psychological need beneath. 6. The integration outcome. In the end, the experience must be integrated into life. This stage has 3 possible paths. Positive transformation. The person grows stronger, wiser, and more mature. They embrace change and rebuild themselves. A defensive retreat. Fear wins. They close their heart, lose trust, and avoid future risks. A pendulum reaction. Instead of balance, they swing to extremes, becoming too independent, too careless, or too reckless in love. The outcome is never fixed. It depends on how courageously the person faces their pain. Final reflection. The journey of being left behind is not a single event. It is a psychological process. Denial shields, replacement distracts, eruption breaks, meaning explains, strategy reveals, and integration defines the future. Each stage is a mirror. It shows not only what was lost, but who we truly are when we face loss. Key message: a new perspective. A leaving is not just about escape. It is the spark that forces growth. It breaks patterns and makes room for change. An absence often speaks louder than presence. When you are gone, the silence grows heavy. It leaves space where others must face themselves. Your presence can comfort, but your absence can transform. It forces reflection, making people confront what they avoided. True relationships are not built on clinging. They are formed between people walking their own journeys. Two paths side by side, not one consuming the other. When someone chooses to leave, it is not always rejection. Sometimes, it is the deepest form of respect. A way to honor growth, independence, and selfhood. A leaving opens doors to hidden strength. It reminds us, loss is not just an ending. It is the beginning of becoming who we truly are. In the end, absence is not emptiness. It is transformation. What remains is not just a memory, but the seed of growth planted in silence.